Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I am privileged to present to the House this bipartisan, bicameral agreement providing appropriations to the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, for fiscal year 2015. Before I describe the details of this agreement, I want to thank everyone who has worked on this bill here today, because despite its importance to national security and public safety, its path to the floor has been far from certain. First, to the Speaker and Majority Leader and your staffs, thank you for doing what is necessary to get this bill to this stage in the legislative process. To Mr. Rogers and the full committee staff, thanks for fighting for this bill. It wouldn't be on the floor without you. To the House and Senate subcommittee staffs and my personal staff, Derek Newby, Chris Mallard, Cornell Teague, Laura Silkey, Ann Wake, Steve Gilliland, Bill Zito, Jonas Miller, and Val Baldwin, thank you for your advice and counsel crafting this agreement. Your work takes you away from home and your family, and I appreciate your efforts. Finally, to the Honorable David Price, Ranking Member of the Subcommittee, much thanks to David. Our partnership is critical to this bill's success. Your experience and his experience and measured approach makes this agreement even better. Thank you, David, for your service and, more importantly, your friendship. As everyone knows, several amendments will be proposed to stop the President's recent executive actions on immigration. I plan to vote for these amendments because, like many Americans, I believe the President's actions exceed the authority provided to the executive in the Constitution. We need to have this debate. But after all the arguments have been presented, the underlying appropriations bill must be enacted because it is critical to the nation's security and to public safety. Mr. Speaker, last week we watched a terrible tragedy unfold in Paris as armed terrorists killed innocent French citizens who were doing nothing more than going about their daily lives. Like 9/11, this event and others that have occurred this year remind us that our democratic values are under constant attack and serve as a warning that we must remain vigilant. Make no mistake, what happened in Paris can happen anywhere, including the United States. And we must provide the resources necessary and root out the seeds of terrorism. Therefore, passing the Homeland Security Appropriations Bill is an imperative we cannot fail to meet. Mr. Speaker, this agreement is very good, and I'm proud of it. It supports DHS frontline personnel and essential security operations and maintains fiscal discipline. Specifically for Customs and Border Protection, this agreement adds $42 million above the request to assure 24/7 surveillance of all land, sea, and air approaches. It increases air and marine flight hours from 74,000 to 95,000 per year. This agreement fully funds 23,775 Border Patrol CBP officers to continue the efforts to reduce wait times of passengers arriving at the nation's international airports without resorting to burdensome user fees as proposed by the President. Funds are included for 21,370 Border Patrol agents, the highest operational force in DHS history. Funds for tactical communications equipment and border security technology are increased by $20 million above the requests. Substantial increases are included for targeting systems and data analysis to support counterterrorism efforts. For immigration and customs enforcement, custody and deportation operations are increased by $862 million above the request to ensure full funding of 34,000 legislatively mandated detention beds and to detain, deport, and deter the influx of families and children illegally crossing the southwestern border. Included in this amount are 3,732 new family detention units to deter illegal migration of families and 207 new enforcement officers to expedite the process of returning illegal immigrants to their country of origin. ICE's investigative capacity is increased by $82.4 million over the request, which will result in more convictions of child pornographers, drug smugglers, human traffickers, and other criminals. Full funding is provided for E-Verify and all existing 287G agreements. For the Transportation Security Administration, TSA screeners are capped at 45,000, 1,000 below last year's level. Privatized screening is increased by $12.1 million over the request, and funds are reduced from TSA's current request and prior year balances, saving the taxpayers almost $300 million. For the U.S. Coast Guard, operational hours in critical source and transit zones are increased by $16.7 million over the request. Depot and level maintenance, which is crucial for the Coast Guard's readiness, is increased by $52.7 million over the request. The 8th National Security Cutter is fully funded, and $95 million over the request is added for an additional C-130J aircraft. For the United States Secret Service, $25 million in additional funds are provided to address training shortfalls highlighted by the White House fence jumper and to enhance perimeter security, including for additional K-9 teams. For the National Protection and Programs Directorate, funds are provided so DHS can effectively manage the collection of biometrics and protect and enhance the resilience of the nation's physical and cyber infrastructure. For Federal Emergency Management Agency, $7 billion is provided to fully fund operational needs for disaster relief. First responder grants are increased by $300 million above the President's request to sustain funding for state and local grants, firefighter assistance grants, and emergency management performance grants. For science and technology, $23.7 million above the request is provided for vital research efforts, including biological defense, cybersecurity, border security, and first responder technology. And $300 million is included to complete construction of the National Bio-Agro Defense Facility. Finally, this agreement provides absolutely no discretionary funds or mandatory funds to implement the President's executive actions on immigration. As you know, the cost of proceeding immigration applications are paid entirely by individual applicants when they submit their supporting documentation. Fees from those transactions are collected in a specific amount in the Treasury as mandated by the Immigration and Nationality Act. The hard-earned income of American taxpayers does not subsidize the cost of immigration applications, and the spending bill under consideration today has no funding for these purposes. In closing, Mr. Speaker, this Homeland Security bill meets the security needs of our nation and the fiscal stewardship expected by the taxpayers. I believe it is worthy of every member's vote, and I urge my colleagues to support.